I cherish the day that I try not to make many appointments if I can help it. Give myself over to creative endeavors, haul out the watercolors that are all dried up at this point. Give myself a reset or a recharge. I hope that maybe you all have a day, even one during the week, or maybe even a month, that you give yourself that time. I take a break from those creative endeavors or that maybe one appointment that I have and do home blessing chores. I have to call them home blessings, otherwise I'll leave them alone. It's a home blessing. So laundry, dishes, decluttering, home blessing, right? That makes it more palatable.
Yeah.
And this past Monday, I decided, okay, I'm gonna sit down, the laundry's in, the dishwasher's going, so I'm gonna sit down for a minute and just look at social media for a minute or two. 2 hours later, 2 hours later, I am shaky, stressed, weeping, wondering what to do in capital letters, make it stop, hold somebody accountable. And I've signed up for 3 webinars and a local training.
Yeah.
That was not the reset I was looking for. There was just too much information, too many harms, too many things I cared deeply about that needed protecting. And I made a decision. I dropped my phone in a drawer, shut it with a bang, and went for a walk. I paid attention to the feeling of wind on my face, sun shining in my eyes, bird song in the air, and soon found my sense of self, my sense of agency returning. Good medicine. I don't know, you all may have experienced something similar, a constant news cycle frantically waving its hand in your face, snapping its finger, making weird noises. Floods of here, no, this way, over here, not down here. The flood of executive orders, social media posts, legislation is a strategy. Exhaust the opposition to the point they, whoever they might be, give up. Can't do anything, too much, all happening at once. 24-hour news cycles exacerbate the exhaustion. Have you heard that the health of the economy depends on us buying things early and often, even if you don't need it? It's up to you. How do we both stay informed and self-regulated, which means managing emotions, thoughts, and behaviors? How do we pay attention to what truly deserves our focus? How do we balance the cruelty without being overwhelmed and perhaps becoming cruel ourselves? There's an ear thing for you. That won't keep you up in the middle of the night. Wayne Martin Mellinger writes, quote, "When we take the time to truly bear witness to the suffering of others, we eventually find that we are bearing witness to aspects of ourselves." Maureen had showed up in her reading too. Those demons who inflict suffering are in essence a part of us. We are reflected in both the victims and the villains. We must acknowledge that both are part of us. Only then can we take care of the other, who is none other than ourself. Bearing witness, then, can be merely observing what is happening around us or in the world, Mellinger takes this further, though. Witnessing suffering also engages our own suffering and our own complicity in the suffering of other people, because there really is no other. I've several times, having been with you, led you through the Buddhist metta or loving kindness meditation. I do that on purpose, one, because then I get to practice it too with all of you. But it's by beginning with compassion for our own selves and then widening that circle of self, not just thinking I'm going to send this to somebody else, but here is me, here is the connection. Remember that the second step offers loving kindness to someone you care about, and the third step is someone you don't know but may encounter regularly. And finally, the fourth step is to send loving kindness to someone you disagree with or dislike vehemently. That is the most difficult part of the practice, except for sometimes that self-compassion. This kind of meditation, any meditation, as I have said over and over again, will not likely change that someone, especially the one you're really not sure about. It may not change them, but it will change you. It changes me and my responses. And then I can pay better attention and discern what most needs my witness, my focus, my work, my heart. So there is one of your first resources in our list of resources of what to do when everything is overwhelming. Meditate. When you're really busy, meditate every day. And when you're really, really busy, meditate more. Meditate more. Another thing, this is so hard right now, but choosing good sources for information. I was about to say trusted sources, but that might get me in trouble. What is a trusted source anymore? But you will find them and you will know them, right? You will know. You will know. You can share those things with each other. I found this place. I found this person. Compare the stories. That's important. Remember, oh, this is so hard. Remember that you don't have to track every issue. I said it out loud. You don't have to track every issue. In community, labor is spread out like a mycelial network, making it all stronger, making the earth underneath us stronger, making us stronger. I found someone on Instagram. Anyway, yes, those social media things. Daphne Delbo, who goes by the handle The Mama Attorney. So she's an employment, or was that right? Yeah, employment attorney, but also mom. So she talks a lot about labor in multiple senses, right? She wrote, justice does not require self-destruction. Okay, you are allowed to survive this intact. You are allowed to survive this intact. That is part of the rebellion too. Surviving it intact. I want to invite you into another way to bear witness as a spiritual practice. That is my job, after all. This comes from a packet that Maureen had quoted from, it's called, from the Soul Matters umbrella group that does worship resources and religious education packets. This is one called Practice Matters. And each month a packet is put together by Reverend Sandra Fees on spiritual practices that can support you. But I love this because it's an individual thing. So you do the practice on your own. But the really important part is to then gather in a small group, talk about your experience with the practice, and then do another practice together that kind of cements that. So they're not always related to whatever theme of the month is, but this one, because March's theme for Soul Matters and the worship and the RE things is paying attention. I thought bearing witness worked really well as a spiritual practice in that. So I wanted to offer a couple things. One, to try out at least a portion of the recommended practice, which is why you should have a very tiny notebook and a very small set of colored pencils. Can I tell you how excited I was to find both of these?
Wonderful.
So our first, this is a way to delve more deeply into something over the course of a month. And it's trying on a practice that you might not kind of be drawn to already, or something you haven't engaged with. So I love that idea of trying on a spiritual practice grounded in Unitarian Universalism and saying, yes, this worked for me, or no, that's just did not, I'm not doing that anymore. And that's fine. This is why it's a practice, right? So I included a link to this particular packet in the March newsletter. And I would like to also offer, if you would like to engage with this practice for the month on your own, then offer at the end of the month to gather on Zoom. I'm more than happy to host. I could even come back up here if you wanted to do it in person, to share what you came up with, what you found in the practice. So it's not just oh, I'm going to try it out and la 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 la, but to really come back, engage with it, and talk with each other about it. So I'm going to leave that invitation out there. So your first thing, find a page if you would like. If you don't want to write things down, that's fine. That's fine, but think through this. So in the packet, there are going to be 5 steps for engaging with this kind of idea of bearing witness and paying attention. The first one may not surprise you. It's focus, right? Remember, we don't have to pay attention to every single issue. So who or what needs your witness? Okay. So spend a little time here considering what issue, concern, situation, or person you want to bring your attention to. Okay. You might immediately know that you want to bear witness to a social justice issue, such as environmental degradation, racial injustice, food insecurity, homelessness. Well, that's not fair. There's a whole list right there. Something that you are already engaged with and passionate about. Or you might also feel called to bring a deeper witness to a more personal relationship. Either of those would be fine. Perhaps there's a family member or a friend who might be lonely or struggling right now. Reverend Fees also reminds us to not forget the non-human family. Bearing witness to animal suffering or the dying earth can be a particularly powerful experience. She writes to remind us to put aside the mindset of trying to decide what issues are most important or most urgent in a general sense. Instead, this step, this focus, is about getting specific to what is most meaningful for you to do. This means allowing yourself to trust that the right situation will present itself to you if you are open to it. So I realize that right now I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to really think this through. Engaging with the packet means you could take a week to do that. So I know this is not fair, but it's a beginning. So I'll keep some time and give you 2 minutes to really think of focus. And you could even make a list if you wanted to start with a list and then look at that list a little bit more. All right? All right, have at it. So the second piece is the method of your engagement here. Where and how will you experience this issue? Reverend Fries writes, deciding how to bring yourself to the situation and embody your witnessing is a crucial part of this exercise. For instance, bearing witness to a social issue by watching a film will produce an experience very different from witnessing some aspect of the social justice issue up close and in person, such as through attending a vigil or volunteering at a clinic. And similarly, she writes, forcing yourself to directly confront an issue like animal cruelty or homelessness is powerful, but so is confronting that indirectly through poems or pieces of art. Or imagine you want to bear witness to the beauty or courage of a grandparent's life, or maybe a grandchild's life. Spending the day with and being fully present to them will be a very different experience than sitting down and recording them, telling the story about a specific experience. All right, so here's where you can kind of brainstorm methods that might feel most important or urgent for you, or maybe something you have not tried before. So this is the moment to just throw some ideas onto your piece of paper. And let's pause for 2 minutes, take 2 minutes to do that as well. So that's just a little piece of what this practice could do. I find that setting aside some time each day to engage with this, whatever my chosen method might be, sometimes it's a big enough method or ask or lift that I need to set aside time 1 day per week or something like that. So just consider that. As Unitarian Universalists, we care deeply about social justice in its many forms, sometimes to the point that we cannot decide how to address an injustice, right? We often will say, this is the issue and we need to do this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing to address the subtleties of it. That's okay. It means we're talking with each other about it, right? That's the important thing. But talking together can also help us refine a response so that as a community, you can address that issue. It's perfectly all right to do a thing in community and then also do your individual thing that's more focused. That works too. But also working with the community partners that I know you have, that you have worked with before, and really listening to what those partners, who are often people more deeply affected by an unjust system than we ourselves might be in, really listening. The world doesn't need the kind of heroes or villains who come charging in and say, I know what's best. Sometimes I think, well, yes, I'm sure that that attitude has gotten us to where we are right now. We know best. We don't live here. We've never lived here. We come from somewhere else, but we know how to fix this. So listening is part, maybe the major part, of bearing witness in a faithful way. Our shared Unitarian Universalist values even specifically call us to pay attention, to give our attention. In the write-up about equity, one of our UU values, it says, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant, we promise each other to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. We pay attention. I encourage you to engage in this spiritual practice of bearing witness. It may make things a little less heavy to practice bearing witness as part of your faith, the expression of your faith out in the world. Will you take a breath with me? Feel your heartbeat. Feel the seat under you. Pay attention. Sylvia Boorstein, an American author, psychotherapist, and Buddhist teacher, wrote, suppose people everywhere simultaneously stopped what they were doing and paid attention for only as long as it took to recognize their shared humanity. Surely the heartbreak of the world's pain, she writes, visible to all, would convert everyone to kindness. May it be so, and blessed be.